Ancient Faith Radio brings you the Law of the Spirit with Father Maxime Lesac. Questions and answers on the spiritual life. Father Maxime is the priest at Christ the Savior Orthodox Church in Ottawa, Ontario.
The question is about fasting as an aid to prayer. Is there a good answer that we can give people when they ask, how does fasting help prayer? Well, part of the problem is that when people pose this question, they have the answer in mind already, or at least the category. They want to know how it helps physiologically. Because people in our time are very concerned about food, very concerned about eating, very concerned about health questions, of course, for good reason, associated with eating. So what people really want to hear often when they ask that question is, what is the scientific proof for, eating less being an aid to prayer? When in fact there are theological reasons why we fast, spiritual reasons why we fast. I just mentioned one of them. There is a reconnection to the life in paradise. There is a connection to the Lord's struggle and fast in the wilderness when he says that man does not live by bread alone, but by what? By the word of God. So we fast because we are human beings created in the image and likeness of God, and when we fast, we embrace our higher calling. That's why we fast. In part, that's why we fast. We're not animals. Animals don't know how to fast. Human beings do. And we ought to show that we are created in the image and likeness of God. Yes, it's true, if you want to look at it from a more physiological standpoint, when you eat a heavy meal, try to go and pray. Try to have a three. It would be ridiculous to try to do something like this, but for example, the service of Holy Thursday, 3 to 4 hours, 3 to 4 hour vigil. You fill yourself with all kinds of heavy food, and you go to church for the service. You will probably realize it during the first gospel, which is not particularly short. But what do people who fast and pray experience? Fast and pray. Not just fast. If you fast and you don't pray, you just feel hungry. If you fast and you pray, you feel light. And people at the end of all of these vigil services inevitably feel sharp, feel tired, but feel quite awake and light, buoyant, light. So there is a connection between taking a spiritual stand that we do not live by bread alone, but we live through prayer. This is the reason, I'm not suggesting that any of us try it. It would be a bad idea. But when we read about some of the great ascetics of the Church who fasted for all of Lent, received only Holy Communion, perhaps Holy Communion and Prosphora and blessed water, and went through all of Lent this way and celebrated Pascha. Not for everybody, by the way. Not for most people, I might add. But how did they live? By some hidden power inside? They lived through prayer. They were fed through the services of the Church. Why would people in our society die? Because they're not praying in church. The more you pray, the more you can fast. It's a very simple rule. The less you pray, the less you can fast. The monastics, who spend many hours in prayer, can fast hard. They're being fed. And indeed, when the soul is fed, the soul feeds the body. I'm not suggesting that people test this or push it to ridiculous extremes or anything like that. I'm suggesting moderation in everything. I want to be clear about that from the pastoral point of view. But I'm just telling us what we all know. that the human being is a psychosomatic being, body and soul, not just body. We aren't just the combination of all the chemical reactions taking part in our bodies with a little bit of electricity moving through. We are more than that. We have a soul. And there is an intimate connection. They are completely integrated. So the feeding of the soul feeds the body. And then, we take courage. When we see that it is true, we remember that, and we are bold, and we fast. When you go through a vigil and you feel light, you think, well, it's true. You discover something which people have been saying for thousands of years, but seems to strike people. Everyone is being completely novel when they experience it for the very, very first time. They say, good grief, it's true. It really works, as if it were some kind of a shock that such a thing would happen. It emboldens the person to fast a little bit more, still wisely, but a little bit more without complaining the next time around.
If you have a question on the spiritual life, you can write to Father Maxim at lawofthespirit@ancientfaith.com. And be sure to like this podcast on Facebook. This has been a listener-supported presentation of Ancient Faith Radio.